On this edition of Southern Newsweek, there's bad news at the bar for Mosgirls RSA, while a group of motorcyclists pay their respects at Monticello, and junior doctors begin a 5-day strike. Hello, I'm Daryl Baser. The Mosgiel Memorial RSA restaurant and bar is set to close 4 years after the club's complex was redeveloped at a cost of $1.2 million. Mosgiel RSA chairman Peter Amies says they can't continue to trade under the current operating model. Just 4 years after a $1.2 million makeover, the Mosgiel RSA restaurant and bar is set to close.
Well, unfortunately, it's a fairly sad day for the Mosgiel RSA. We're having to close down the operating elements of the club, and that is the bar and restaurant, due to the inability to cover the overheads and expenses of the club from the return we're getting from those operating elements.
Amies says they've taken a proactive step in an attempt to stave off any collateral damage from the hospitality arms closure. He says higher operating costs and an unsustainable commercial operation are key contributors to the decision to close.
So it's a combination of both increased expenses and decreased income from the activities we have. So we're closing the operating elements of the club. All the rest of the elements of the club remain open, and we'll go into a consultation process over the next couple of months with all of the members to see what they want to have as an operating model going forward.
Major Amies says it's not only their club feeling financial pressure, and says dwindling membership is a major factor, but he says they're keeping some services going.
And we took a prudent approach to be proactive in terms of closing it, to protect the value that we have within the assets, and to remain keep a capability and financial capability going forward, so we can do something with that, and we'll decide that over the next couple of months.
He says the club remains in an overall sound financial position.
The last count as of Sunday, we had 1,302 members, so that's a really big asset base. The number of members who are actually frequenting the club on a regular basis is about 15%. So therein lies some of the problems. We have a really good solid base, and we're really grateful for the annual fees or subs that people pay to be members of the club. But we need the activity in the club itself to keep it going, and that's just not been there over the last 2 years.
RSA Otago Southland District President Jennifer Glover says the closures are very sad but reflect a sensible approach, and she remains positive about the future. Time is being called at the bar in early June. In Dunedin, the South Today. South Dunedin rumbled to the sound of motorcycles recently as a large group of riders set out to raise money for returned servicemen and women. About 30 riders set off from Monticello Veterans Rest Home and Hospital for the 5th Ride of Respect, which raises money to assist the RSA.
Rolling out all in the name of charity, motorcycle riders setting off from Monticello Veterans Home and Hospital over the weekend for the annual Ride of Respect.
Each area will raise money for their local RSAs. We're donating to the Tapanui RSA tomorrow, which is where we'll end the ride. And just as a coincidence, there's a World War II vet there that's celebrating his 98th birthday, so we'll give him he doesn't know it yet, we'll give him a cake and have a fairly rousing rendition of happy birthday.
It was one of about a dozen rides happening around the country, open to anyone who wanted to get involved. It's the 5th run for the Dunedin chapter, which is growing in popularity.
Longer than that in the UK, that's where it originated from. They have a major ride, and they've raised about $500,000 for veterans charities over there. 4 Kiwis over a beer on the west coast come up with the idea to run the ride over here as well, and it's getting bigger every year.
One of the destinations this year was the Waihau Forks Hotel near Waimate.
There was a guy there who went away to war, left a bottle of beer behind the bar, said he'd drink it when he got back, Ted Diavern. Unfortunately, he died in Crete, so the bottle's still sitting there, so they're actually raising money to make a memorial to Ted and to all sort of rural men and women that went to war and didn't come back, so we'll be donating to that cause as well.
Harriet says they managed to raise around $1,600 over the weekend in Dunedin, the South Today.
Around 30 junior doctors and supporters have protested outside Health Minister David Clark's Dunedin office. The junior doctors recently began a 5-day nationwide strike, although they still hope to settle their dispute with district health boards. braving the cold conditions to have their voices heard. Members of the New Zealand Resident Doctors Association taking their fight right to the front door of the Health Minister in Dunedin today. Despite David Clark's office being unattended, protesters say patient safety is at stake if young doctors are forced to work longer periods.
What they want to do is take control of our contract and the way that we work and how we work and where we work at the same time. Meaning that they could put it onto longer shift rosters or different shift rosters that we don't think are safe, but also they can move us around the country, break up our families.
Junior doctors walked off the job at 8 a.m. this morning at all public hospitals across the country except for Canterbury, which was excluded because of the recent terror attacks. It's the fifth strike over a failure by both sides to agree on proposed changes to the doctors' employment contract.
Here on day one of what's the nation's longest doctor strike in history. This is a 5-day strike that we're embarking upon, and we're here because we want David Clark to hear us. David Clark's been silent in this matter up until now, and when approached he's just not taking control of his DHBs.
The main sticking point is district health boards want hospital chief executives to have the final say over working arrangements, including rosters, rather than the union head office. The Resident Doctors Association says the health boards are trying to roll back safety roster provisions that they agreed to 2 years ago.
We're trying to keep our current working terms and conditions. We're trying to look after ourselves, keep our hours safe, and so that we can keep our patients safe.
The strike action is scheduled to end early on Saturday. In Dunedin, the South Today. Queenstown's new rescue helicopter is one of the most technically advanced in the country, but it's the skill and gusto of the pilots and paramedics which is key to saving those lost, injured and at risk in alpine environments.
Just another day at the office for Jodie Burton and the team of pilots and paramedics in charge of Queenstown's new rescue helicopter. She's one of 4 paramedics crewing Queenstown's first dedicated rescue helicopter service after government reforms made it possible.
In general, the Queenstown area the whole of the Southern Lakes district is getting busier, more people visiting. There are more car accidents, there's more people going into the hills and getting lost or in trouble, more medical events. So yeah, it is busy, and I think it's going to continue to stay that way.
At just 36, Burton has a nursing degree, a paramedic degree and 10 years experience charging the front line in emergency departments and ambulance call-outs. She's now doing postgraduate studies to become an intensive care paramedic, a qualification the other crew members also have under their belts.
Apart from myself, the other 3 guys are all intensive care paramedics, so at the highest level, some of them are RSI trained, which means that they can provide care that not many people in New Zealand can.
In their first 6 months of operation, the crews responded to nearly 250 calls for help. It's almost 2 call-outs a day, meaning plenty of flying time for the pilots.
Our pilots, we've got 3 really experienced pilots from the Queenstown area, and so they know the mountains around here, and it's just great to know that we're going out with people that are at the top of their game.
Like most healthcare services in New Zealand, funding shortfalls remain a constant challenge, partially funded by the government and also through 2 community trusts. The service also relies on community donations. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, kids of all ages flocked to the 5th annual Lego show at Invercargill, and a Queenstown drummer has entered an international drumming contest. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Toddlers, octogenarians and all ages in between recently gathered at Stadium Southland to see the creative Lego displays of the 5th annual Southland Brick Show. There were queues outside the Invercargill Stadium with many eager to see displays by Lego Users Group South. Seriously, bricking it! Star Wars, the Taj Mahal, London Bridge and railway yards are alongside roller coasters and aeroplanes, much of which has been built by members of Lego Users Group South. Group Secretary Gavin Evans says attendance at the show is really stacking up.
Several thousand people, I haven't got an exact number as yet, but really happy, and the crowd seem happy with it too. Exhibitors are certainly getting good feedback from the crowd.
There are play pits with thousands and thousands of Lego pieces, as well as Lego building races. Evans says the number of people through the door has built up from previous years, and putting the displays together takes a massive amount of construction.
Today the room was completely empty. 14 hours later, we left at 10 o'clock last night to a room that was as the public saw it this morning pretty much.
The youngest exhibitor is 7 years old, and the oldest has recently celebrated his 80th birthday. Many people are pleased with the event, some have their favourites, while others are enjoying building all sorts of items.
The Lego train and the airplane.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing, the designs and just the people are so creative. I love it.
Okay, so we've kind of been building a city until the pirate ships came and kind of mixed the whole thing up into a big blob.
Gavin Evans says exhibitors came from as far away as Wellington and Bluff for the event, which he describes as the biggest on their radar. The two-day show finished yesterday. In Invercargill, the South Today. A Queenstown rocker is hoping to hit the right note at an international drumming competition. 34-year-old Patrick Brooks is just one of a handful of Kiwis entered in the Sure Drum Contest, a search to find the world's best hidden drumming talent.
He may not be a professional muso just yet, but Queenstown's Patrick Brooks is no rookie either.
I've been drumming since I was a kid, so I think since 5 I learnt the pots and pans, mum's kitchen utensils, just banging away.
He got his first drum kit at age 10 and has been drumming on and off ever since, including stints with several bands in the resort.
I just love the sound of different tones of the drums, cymbals. I just love the groove. It's the feel. It's what I like about playing the drums.
It's that passion that seen him enter an international competition to find the world's best hidden drumming talent, the Sure Drumming Contest.
Added a quick video of myself and sent it away, and fingers crossed I get the votes I want or need, and Queenstown support, and pretty much hopefully go from there.
But just one drummer from each country will progress to the next stage.
Our opportunity to shine, really, to let the world know, there's just these low-key drummers around that that have the capability to carry on.
The grand prize winner will receive a 5-day trip to London, plus Sure gear valued at $5,000 in Queenstown, the South Today.
A Dunedin 3-year-old has a type of cerebral palsy which causes his leg muscles to be always contracted, making it impossible for him to learn to walk. However, after 6 months of fundraising, Harry Finch is off to the United States for surgery he can't get in New Zealand.
Getting ready for his trip to the United States, where he'll receive life-changing surgery. 3-year-old Harry Finch of Abbotsford is booked in for an operation in Missouri for next Tuesday. It's intended the surgery will bring an end to the muscle tension Harry was born with, which causes his legs to be constantly crossed.
It's going to be pretty hard to be sitting there waiting for our son while he's getting the surgery done, but it's been something that it's a dream, and we are just really excited that it's actually come around, and it's come around really fast.
The corrective surgery isn't available in New Zealand, but many of the people who have undergone the operation in the US have had positive outcomes.
And so what happens is they cut a little bit of his spine and they go in with a camera, and then they can see which nerves are causing the damage.
Because the surgery and physiotherapy aren't funded in New Zealand, the family needed to raise about $150,000. Harry's mum says they've been amazed at the support they've received so far.
It still blows us away every single day. There's still lots of happy tears, sad tears, and just the community of Otago in Dunedin, Abbotsford, Otago Rugby, that's just naming a few.
The operation won't be an immediate fix, and Harry will have to undergo physiotherapy 4 times a week for the next 5 to 7 years. The donations, which are still coming in, will also help Harry's future rehabilitation.
So there's still money coming in from different places, and that money, which has gone over and above the 150, will help Harry for years with his physio. And so that takes so much pressure off our family, which we don't need. You know what I mean? Like with a typical kid, you wouldn't have to worry about that sort of thing. So it's definitely taken the pressure off, and we're so very grateful.
The family are set to fly out to St Louis Children's Hospital on Friday. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, Omakau and District's Play Centre has finally returned to Ophir. And there's good news for the Play Centre at Ophir. Omakau and District's Play Centre has finally returned to Ophir. For the past 6 months, the Play Centre has been based at the Poolburn Hall, while its Swindon Street premises was renovated and extended. Celebrating success with a sausage sizzle, the Omakau and District's Play Centre reopened at the weekend in Ophir to much fanfare, and giving the Play Centre team a chance to show their appreciation to all who've helped.
So we're having a really special day here today, having an open day for the community to come and see what our new centre looks like and have the opportunity to say a massive thank you to everyone who's contributed to make this project a success.
Vanessa Hoare says their Play Centre has been housed at a different location since late last year, giving bigger construction workers than this little guy the opportunity to completely redevelop the premises.
We moved out at the end of term 3 last year over to the Poolburn Hall, and the builders moved in a couple of weeks later.
To mark the project's completion, a celebration was hosted at the New Look Centre with a bouncy castle and tours of the new space. Hoare says many areas got some well-needed attention and they're wrapped with the result.
The main classrooms had a facelift and the whole back end of the building was gutted and rebuilt. We've now got a functional kitchen, which is a novelty. We've got a sleep room and we have an office that we can actually work in.
Previously, the only space for younger children to nap was in the general area while the other children played, which, as any parent or caregiver can tell you, isn't conducive to sleep. Committee members are excited by the end result, which has been a massive community project. In Ophir, the South today. Dunedin artists who are on the autistic spectrum are set to put on an annual exhibition at the Otago Museum's Skinner Annex. Exhibition convener Tanya Patterson says her own diagnosis of being on the spectrum came late in life.
I think if I was a child now I would have been picked up, but back in the 80s, autism or Asperger's, which is what my diagnosis would have been previously, it wasn't known, it wasn't actually a thing. Asperger's wasn't a diagnosis until the early 90s. So I kind of slipped through as a naughty, rebel child that people couldn't understand why I did the things I did, and spent a lot of years in mental health services as a client and just got shuffled around, lots of other diagnoses. So it wasn't till a few years ago when I realised that this is actually something that works and fits my profile. My son calls it a reverse midlife crisis, and it really was for me. It wasn't like, oh, who am I? It was like, oh, and that's who I am, and everything made sense. And I guess for me, the best thing about it was understanding some of the reasons why I felt different to everyone, because I felt like a dud as a human, as a mother, and it helped me make sense of the world, and it's actually helps me navigate my world now. So it's made life a lot easier. And the internet's amazing for autistic people because sometimes the social stuff's not easy. So being able to connect with other people like me has been one of the most amazing things. Like I really thought that my journey in life was my own and only mine, and that I didn't do so well at it. But now I understand that other people like me have struggled like me, and now we can sort of connect together. So it's like having your own community and all of a sudden, which is just a beautiful thing. I'm not as talented as these people in the room. I do use writing, which has definitely helped. When I was diagnosed, I kind of had to go right back through my life and reframe it, and it was empowering, but it was also a little bit horrifying at some stages, going, why didn't anyone help me or know that? But that's okay now. That's just part of the process. But writing for me, and I know a lot of the artists find that drawing and painting really helps them to get some of those emotions out onto a place that's that's good for processing, and yeah. I thought it would be a wonderful way to sort of present autism to the wider community in a way that shows people's personalities and individuality, and is also really fun. And yeah, we had a range of amazing artists that wanted to be a part of it, so it's been really cool watching them join us and be part of their journey. We've also had workshops on the weekends, which have been really cool as well. So giving a space for people to talk openly about autism, because that doesn't always happen. That's what this is about, really. It's about demystifying. It's about artists being able to be proud of what they're doing and have their work in the community. It's been really positive so far, and I have a feeling this is the start of something pretty cool.
Creative people with a diagnosis of autism or Asperger's are invited to contribute to this year's exhibition scheduled for August. And that wraps up this edition of Southern News Week. For the latest news from the Southern region, subscribe to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.